Hello class, welcome to Algebra Lesson 4-5, which is all about solving systems of linear inequalities. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to graph and solve a system of linear inequalities. So this is going to build on what we did in Lesson 4-4, where you practiced graphing one linear inequality. You practiced learning when it's a solid line versus a dashed line. You learned how to figure out which side to shade. Now we're going to have two of those on one graph, and we're going to figure out what the solution is. So the first thing we're going to talk about is really similar to like what we started with yesterday with 4-4, and that's how to determine if something is a solution for the system of inequalities. So is 210 a solution to the system of inequalities? So as always, this is my x, this is my y. So this would be written as 10 is less than or equal to 3 times 2 plus 2, which 3 times 2 is 6. So I'd have 6 plus 2. So 6 plus 2 would be 8. Is 10 less than or equal to 8? No. So I don't even have to look at that second inequality. I already know that my answer is no, because it has to be true for both of them. Okay, now I want you to try this one on your own. Good luck. Okay, for this problem, hopefully you ended up with yes. I showed my work up there to help you see how I arrived at that answer. If you did not get yes and you do not understand that work, please reach out for some help. I'm more than happy to help you. So your first assignment on IXL is going to be exactly like this. I recommend doing this IXL skill first, okay? Now example 2, solve a systems of inequalities by graphing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign colors to each of my graphs. So hopefully those two colors are somewhat easy to differentiate. Now I'm going to graph that x is greater than or equal to 2. So this is going to be a solid line. And then the y is less than a -1. That's going to be dashed line. Sometimes students do better if they immediately write whether it's solid or dashed. Because that's an easy thing to forget and lose points on your answer for that. All right, so x is greater than or equal to 2. So where x equals 2 on the x-axis, so this is my x, here is 2. And then x equals 2 along this entire line. So I'm going to do a solid line going straight up and down, okay? Then I'm saying x is greater than or equal to 2. So that greater than, where does x start to get bigger? X starts to get bigger on this side of my line. Okay, so I'm going to try to shade it in, make it really obvious where we are talking about. Okay, so I have that shaded in. Now, y is less than -1. Y axis is right here. Y is -1 is right here. And I'm going to do a dashed line at y equals -1. And then y is less than -1. So that's going to be everything below. So I would go like this. Okay, so you can see it starts to get a little messy when you are writing your answers or putting your answers into IXL. It works pretty much the same as yesterday, except the shading, the solution is where they overlap, okay? So the solution only includes, oops, did not mean to do that. The solution only includes the overlap. So you would not include any of this other shading because that is not considered part of your answer. Now some of you might need to have that shading there just to help you keep track. And on your test, I'm okay with you using different colors and having all of that shading on there. However, on IXL, when you're doing your assignment, it's only going to let you shade in this one little box because this is your solution. Your solution is the overlap. And on your test, like I said, you're welcome to leave all of that shading that I had on there, and then you could just draw an arrow and say which part is your overlap, your solution, or use like a third color. But for IXL, you would only be able to highlight that one little section. Okay, let's try another one, because I know these really start to look confusing. I know they are not always the easiest thing to learn. And if it makes sense, awesome, that is fantastic. It just doesn't always happen for everyone right away, and that's okay. So we have y is greater than 2x minus 4, so my y-intercept is a negative 4. My slope is 2, and this is going to be a dashed line. So I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. I like to put as many dots as possible to help me keep my line straight. And since it's dashed, I'm just going to go like this. And voila, I have my line. Now remember, to figure out which part I would shade, I would plug in a point. Remember, you can pick any point that is not on your line. So I'm going to pick 0, 0. If I plug 0 in, is 0 greater than 2 times 0 would be 0 minus 4. So is 0 greater than negative 4? Yes. So I know I'm going to shade all of this because 0, 0 is on this side of the line. Okay? Now for this next one, the next line, I have a solid line because it has the or equal to. My y-intercept is 1. My slope is a negative 1/3. So I'm going to go down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3. Or I could go up 1, left 3, up 1, left 3, up 1, left 3. Now, again, I'm going to do a solid line through those dots. And now I need to figure out, am I going to shade above or below this line? So this line doesn't go through 0, 0 either, so I'm going to plug that point in. Is 0, that was a bad 0, let me try again. Is 0 less than negative 1/3 times 0 is just 0 plus 1. So is 0 less than 1? Yes. So I'm going to go to this line that I just drew in. I'm going to shade everything on the 0, 0 side. So that would be everything down below this line. But I'm going to make my life a little bit easier, and I'm only going to shade in the overlap part, okay? Because that's all that IXL will let me put in. So I would erase the rest of that, and this would be my solution, okay? So sometimes when you're doing IXL, it's actually easier to do it on paper, so that way you can see what parts you're shading, and then put it into IXL. In the past, this has taken students a lot of questions, a lot of tries to get to the one ribbon, and the students that take the time to write it down like this usually end up doing fewer questions because they end up just doing better on the problems. So I highly recommend, I gave a bunch of you some graph paper last week. I recommend using that. Then this top equation, this is our last one for today. This is going to be a dashed line. And my y-intercept is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My slope is 1/2. So up 1 over 2. Down 1, left 2. And then this is dashed. So voila, there's that. And if I plug, I just like to do 0, 0. If I plug 0 in, I have 0 is less than 1/2 times 0 is 0. So 0 is less than 5. That's everything below here. Okay, so I'm going to shade that all in. Okay. Then, for the second one, that's another dashed line. This time my y-intercept is at 7. My slope is 1/2. So again, I can put my dots there to make it a little easier to draw in. And then if I plug 0 in, 0 is greater than 1/2 times 0 is 0, plus 7. So 0 is greater than 7, which is not true. So I'm not going to shade the side of the line that has 0, 0. I'm going to shade the other side of that line. So this time, maybe you can see that none of our shading overlaps. And that's okay. This is a special type of system. This is actually considered a no solution, okay? When the shading does not overlap, there's no solution, okay? So our concept summary for today is the solution is always the overlapped shading, okay? If you have questions about this or anything else, please be sure to reach out for some help and let me know. I'm more than happy to help you. Have a great day.